Hi everyone, today I'm going to be talking about my top 5 Try and mind the cat, she's been trying to dig my scarf off since I sat down. Today I'm going to be talking about my top 5 favourite children's books. These are aimed at younger children, but I'm not going to put an actual age on them because different children like different style stories, and it just depends on where your child is actually at and the sort of stories your children like. So the first one that I'm going to talk about is this one, which is Stickman by Julia Donaldson. Julia Donaldson is really well known, especially for her Gruffalo books. Most of her books have got a really good rhyme structure to them, which I think are really good for children when they're sort of learning how words work and things like that. So Stickman is the story of a stick man he's got a little family, he's got 2 children and a wife stick, and one day when he's out he gets mistaken for an ordinary stick and ends up on a stick journey. So for example, he ends up being a toy for a dog, he ends up in a nest, he ends up being dropped off a bridge as a game of poo sticks, and the story is just Stickman's journey trying to get back home. And as usual with Julia Donaldson books, the rhyme in this is really clever, really fun, and I really enjoy this and I like the flow of the book. And with it being obviously a much younger book, it is an illustrated book, so as you can see there's quite a few nice little pictures in there. So you've got all the pages are really well done, I've got really nicely thought out drawings, and obviously Stickman is in them. So that is Stickman by Julia Donaldson, and I absolutely love that one. The next one that I've got is Funny Bones. This one's actually a collection of 3 stories, and I'm not really very good at pronouncing names, as well we know by now, but that's who it's by. And I used to read Funny Bones at school when I was little, and I really do enjoy the stories. If you're not familiar with them, it's about a pair of skeletons and they do everything in the dark. It's like sort of a bump in the night style situation. It deals with monsters and witches and all sorts of things that kids can find quite scary, but with the characters being the 2 main skeletons, it actually makes the idea of monsters and things a lot less scary for children because they're all friendly with each other, they're all going about and they're actually scared of people, which I think is really good because kids are scared of the dark. They normally start off with the familiar: on a dark hill there's a dark town, in a dark town there's a dark street, down a dark street there's a dark station, and in the dark station there's a ghost train. And each one is different. So the first one is about the ghost train that takes them on holiday. All of the images in this are quite dark because obviously it's set at night time, but you've got the little skeletons going around doing their activities of the night. They've got one where they paint their cellar a different colour because they're sick of it being dark, and they're quite funny, they're quite heartwarming, and they're really good for kids. Next up we've got Mog and the Baby by Judith Kerr. I really like Judith Kerr books. I know a lot of people aren't too fussed by them because they are a little bit nonsensical. They do sound a lot like they've just been made up on the spur of the moment, but I personally love that. And I've got a lot of Judith Kerr books and I love them all. Mog is a familiar character within Judith Kerr stories. There is a whole series of Mog, the most famous one being Mog the Forgetful Cat. This one's Mog and the Baby. It's the same setup, the same family, the same cat, and today they have been looking after a neighbour's baby, and as usual Mog accidentally saves the day and everybody thinks she's a hero even though it's always accidental, and she always does it in a funny way. So the illustrations in this are quite nice again. You've got the family, all the different people, and there's quite a lot for kids to be looking at during reading this. You've got some really cute little pictures of the cat there. And Judith Kerr also does some really good books such as The Tiger That Came to Tea. That's another really good one, but it isn't one of the Mog series, but that's another one to look up. Next up we've got Mileys Chickens. This is a story about a girl who has chickens, and what I like about this is that it actually goes into the basic care of having chickens. So it's really good for children who are interested in animals and animal care. You get a lot of stories about dogs and cats and kittens and things, but you don't get a lot about chickens. I've actually got chickens myself, and the little hints and tips in this are really good. It's got a girl who has a few different breeds of chicken, and it goes through all of sort of the basic care that the chickens need, such as being locked up at night and what she feeds them, and the different eggs that the chickens lay, because chickens lay different colour eggs, different breeds of chicken. So you've got the little story, and it talks about her day looking after her chickens and what she gets up to, and how she's got to be aware of the foxes in the night and make sure her chickens are locked up. And then when you get to the end of the book, you've got some basic information about chickens as well, which is good for older children who want to know a little bit more. So it's got things about breeds of chicken and what chickens do. It's got information on the parts of the egg, which I think was quite nice. It shows you the shell and what's inside. And you've even got things such as telling you how to feed, breed your chickens, eating eggs, and it's got a couple of little very easy little recipes for kids there about how to cook eggs. So I think this is a really nice book for anybody who might be thinking of getting chickens, or anybody who's got any children who are just interested in animal care as a whole. And the last book that I've got is this one. This one's called Greek Myths for Young Children by Marcia Williams. This is a graphic novel style book, and it is the Greek myths but in graphic novel style, like a comic book sort of thing. This is definitely for older children. I would say this is more of a read on your own style book rather than reading with a parent, just for the fact that it's got the story and then it's got all these little speech bubbles and things to read. So it's really nicely done, it's really well put together, and it's got a lot of the main Greek myths in it. The illustrations are nice again, and it is quite a busy book, this one. So this one is, I would say, for older children. I think I read this one myself when I was about 7 or 8. This, I would say, is a really good book as a present for any children who are into something a little bit different, maybe getting a bit bored of the books that they normally read at school. I know in the schools that I went to and a lot of my friends went to, Greek mythology wasn't something that was really studied, especially not at primary school level. So this might be a good one just to introduce your children to Greek mythology. So yeah, as a kid I absolutely loved this book. I didn't know anything about Greek mythology. I picked it up by chance and I've loved it ever since. So that is Greek Myths for Young Children. So that's my top 5 books at the moment for young children, and if you've read any of them, as always, let me know and I'll speak to you all soon. Bye!